sort of changed with the idea when Stephen Hawking started talking about black holes, and black holes started becoming to be more seriously considered. And what a black hole is something where basically everything, it's so strong, the gravitational force is so strong that everything that comes too close to it basically gets sucked in. Nothing can get out, not even light can get out. That's why it's called black. Okay, so there's another example of something you can't really see, but we can see the effects of it. And we now know that there's black holes possibly at the center of every galaxy. Anyways, the paradox of the black hole were that it seems that anything you threw in would be lost in terms of the information. Hawking famously showed that, in fact, black holes can leak. That because of quantum mechanics at the edge, things can leak out, but it's just a very diffuse radiation. So it doesn't reflect anything that went in there. So no matter what goes in there, whether you throw an elephant in there or a book or anything like that, what comes out is all the same. And so information has been lost. We've lost the information about what went in there.
What do you mean what comes out is all the same?
Think of it as radiation. So, whatever, more concretely, if a certain star goes in, certain stars fall into a black hole, other planets, things fall into it.
Yeah.
What comes out is just a certain radiation. There's nothing that tells you what went into forming the black hole. Okay, does that make sense, or? Kind
of losing me.
Okay,
so
there's nothing. It's just like different things can fall in different planets,
right.
But what comes out is just light, or heat. Okay, so it doesn't. There's nothing. We can't learn anything about what went into the black hole by what comes out. So there's information lost. The information about what the thing was that went in is not what comes out.
So are you saying things actually are ejected out of black holes at a different position, like it's somewhere else?
No, not in somewhere else. That comes out, it radiates. So we know black holes, we can see that there's radiation coming out, very, very low level radiation. Okay, which was initially thought not to be possible. It didn't seem like radiation is light. It didn't seem like anything could come out. We know things do come out, but what comes out isn't related to what went in. And it seems like, the idea was it seemed like information was lost, that things fall into the black hole. It seemed like that we lose information. And now, and it's still a very hot topic, but it seems, and one of the things physicists have had to do is really go back to information theory and think about information carefully to try and understand it. And so it has, information theory has become very important in cosmology in terms of its understanding. So again, there are people that have claimed that information is actually more fundamental than a lot of other concepts in physics. So famously, there's a physicist named John Wheeler, who basically Kip Thorne, I think, was Wheeler's student, and so Kip Thorne from Interstellar, right? So he worked with Wheeler. They wrote a famous book on gravitation, and Wheeler very much believed that in the end, information was everything. He famously coined the phrase "it's from bits," that he felt that everything was ultimately going to have to be looked at from the terms of information. So, that's still, I don't think that's been borne out, but it's still something that people talk about. Is information, is that the fundamental way we should look at the world in terms of information? Like not just information and communication, but just is that the way we need to come up with a theory of the universe based on information? So it's had a lot of applications, and
Well, it's
And
interesting. They do go hand in hand with the information that you get from combining particles with the LHC. I mean, nothing means anything unless you have those ones and zeros that are transmitted to those hundreds of thousands of computers, right?
right. Yes. Well, that is the way we analyze it for sure. And that's, I mean, again, CERN, is at the forefront of how do we handle so much information? How can we compress it? One of the interesting things is right now is, even with everything that CERN has done, the amount of information that we're having to deal with, not only at CERN, which is also expanding, but everywhere else is a lot of people believe really going to exceed our capability of advancing in terms of the classical way we construct computers, in terms of our chips, our semiconductor chips and things like that. And so one of the
what chips?
Semiconductors, the silicon chips, the things that are in our computers now.
Okay.
Right? So we've gotten used to these things getting faster and more powerful, right? That every couple of years there's new generations. This was famously canonized in something called Moore's law. And Moore's law was this observation that Moore observed, that it seemed like our abilities to make smaller and smaller and denser chips of semiconductors, every year and a half would double our capacity. And that has been true for many, many years. And we had taken, we have, benefited from it as our devices get smaller and faster and things like that. But we are approaching physical limits. We're at the atomic level almost. And so, and we're generating more and more data, especially like in artificial intelligence and things like that, with these, so-called machine learning devices that are becoming so, more and more evident. It requires huge amounts of data. And so one of the things people are investigating is the idea of, can we make a quantum computer, a computer that operates at the quantum level? And so IBM has now formed a consortium with a number of people, including CERN. And so I talked to some of my friends at CERN, and they're very concerned about the fact, no pun intended, about the ability to deal with all this, and that, are they going to need, what is the future of computing that's going to allow them to deal with all of this? So again, information, it's information. That's our